Hello, friends. It's Lindsay Satterfield on the productivity page here on Facebook, and I want to talk today about working remotely, remote work. And this is coming up because it's in the news, right? With the coronavirus and many organizations looking for alternative ways to work if needed. Working remotely may become a reality for more people, not just those who have that as their sort of permanent way of working. It may become more of a reality. It may become a reality for more people. In fact, today I was having a meeting with one of my clients, and she let me know that she was speaking to me from home because her organization had instituted a remote work day in order to prepare for the potential need to work remotely. Kind of a test drive to see what kinks are in the system, what do they need to figure out and work out. So this is becoming super real. And the other thing that kind of brought it to my attention was speaking with a client of mine who works remotely as her job. The rest of her team is in DC and she's in another location, and just some different challenges that she's had that we were looking for some solutions. So in that conversation, something super interesting came up that I think is important to consider if you need to work remotely or if you choose to work remotely. Now, before I get to that, I want to acknowledge some of the benefits of working remotely. A lot of my clients, they might have a day in which they work remotely and a day of the week, and they find that they get so much more done on those days because they don't have to contend with the seemingly inevitable interruptions that happen when you're co-located with your team members. So that's one positive. Another positive is more from just the overall work. We are not reliant on the talent in our area, right? We can have talent from all over the world because we have these various tools to work remotely. And it gives people a lot of flexibility in how they organize their day, how they organize their work. So a lot of plus sides on working remotely. There are some challenges with working remotely as well. And one thing that came up in my conversation with my client was the issue of visibility. It's not something that comes up a lot, but I think is a very important thing to think about. We're always thinking about the tools and how do you know they're working and all of those things. But this idea of visibility is so important in our work of connecting with others. And it can really jeopardize our own contribution and our own sort of career progression if we're not able to find ways to stay visible on a team. So I wanted to give you a few things to think about if you work remotely in terms of keeping your visibility. So the first thing is, if we're not visible, I wanted to mention a couple other things. You want to avoid having silos. So when you work remotely, it's very easy to just get in your own lane, your own path, do your work hard, and end up being more in silos than if you're co-located. Also, another thing that we know about trust is that we tend to develop deeper collaborations, friendships, connections, trust with people that are physically closer to us. Proximity plays a role in that. So with remote work, we have some things to overcome. And here are 3 suggestions for how you can remain visible and valuable on your team when you work remotely. So the first is to find a way, to stay connected to each of your team members. And some of this will take a little bit more effort. So you're going to gain a lot of time by not being interrupted all day. So, take a little bit of that time that you would spend being interrupted and invest it in relationships, intentional relationships. So one idea is to connect with your team members by acknowledging them, acknowledging birthdays, connecting with them about, an upcoming project, wishing them well. These little touches go a long way with you kind of being top of mind on the team. And the client that I spoke to had a great technique. She used Marco Polo, which is a video, an asynchronous video tool where you can send a video and send it as a message to whoever. And there's another one called Loom. So both of those, you could send a birthday message, send it good wishes, really simple, really easy. It's just a way to stay connected with team members. So that's one. Just keep that connection, that social connection, so important for teamwork. Keep that going and be intentional about it. Also, look for ways, so consciously look for ways that your work can support your team members. So that takes a little bit more effort to really be clear about what your team members are working on, what they're interested in, and looking for potential ways that you can support them. How could you support them through your work? Not to make a whole lot of extra work for you, but if you keep showing the value of your work that way, it can make a real difference in your own visibility on your team. And look for opportunities to collaborate. So again, a little bit of upfront intentionality to look for those ways to collaborate. But if you do that, you're going to, again, keep your value, your visibility present on the team. Then the last one is to promote your contribution. It's so easy to know how hard we're working and just, keep our head down and not promote what it is that we're working on because we don't want to brag or whatever the reason may be. What can happen is other team members can feel, particularly if you're in a situation where you're the one working remotely and everyone else is co-located, is, you're not top of mind if you're not engaging more intentionally. And so there can be this feeling that you're not pulling your weight, or what are they doing over there? What are they doing all day in their house, So you want to constantly be promoting your work in a non-irritating way. So if there is an update on what people are into and what they're working on, make sure you speak up and talk about what it is that you're working on. Maybe ask for people's input on something. Always position it in terms of how it's supporting the team with their goals. So make sure that you're putting your work out and what you're working on. Don't be private about it. Be public about it. Do tell everyone on the team what you're up to. So those are the 3 things that can help you increase your visibility when you work remotely, which some of us may be having, or some of you may be having to do in the upcoming days. So we have look for simple ways to acknowledge team members in a personal way. Use tools like Marco Polo or Loom to send video messages. And the other thing I wanted to mention is around meetings, if at all possible, do video conferencing. We take in so much information and feel so much more connected to people when we can see them. That's why these video messaging tools can be super useful. They see your face, they see your enthusiasm, and in that way, it just has greater, it's more indelible. It has greater impact. So for meetings, see if you can do video conferencing. There's lots of great tools, Zoom, Skype, whatever works. And also for some of these messages, mix it up and send video messages. Then find ways to support your team members. And that takes really knowing their scope of work, what they're challenged with, what they're promoting, what they're into, and seeing if there are ways that you can support them through the work that you're doing. Maybe you come across a research study that would help them in what they're up to because you happen to know what they're up to. So you send that along. So be intentional about that and look for ways to collaborate and things like that. And then look at making sure that people do know how you're contributing to the team. And one way to do that is to ask for input on things that you're doing so that, again, you're top of mind. It's not that they're forgetting you. You're there, you're present, you're working fully as a full member of the team. So that's a few ideas for staying visible. Being visible on a team when you're working remotely is really important. and it deserves thinking through how to do that. So those are my 3 suggestions for you today, and I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I will see you back here next Tuesday.